Good morning. I am going to do a recipe of something very simple, something I use a lot of, and something I make from scratch. I'm going to be posting this on my Cooking in My Vintage Kitchen with Janine. You know, I have a very, very vintage kitchen, starting with this stove. And right now it's a natural gas stove, and we're moving to a house that has natural gas. I'm on propane, so I do not use the burners, although it's totally functional. I bought it working, but for now I use just a little electric burner, the same one that I use in my little vintage, if I don't want to use propane or I'm conserving propane. I take one of these in my vintage, so got that on Amazon, a few years ago now. But anyways, I have two of them, so one's in the vintage and one I keep in the house. If I need to, I can have two up here. But for now, my cooking is not with this stove, so it's basically storage. But it's a fully functional 1940 Universal Avon model. I've had 3 or 4 vintage cook stoves all the way back to a 1920s and as new as a 1956. So, excuse the mess on this. I'm defrosting game meat. These are our meal deer roast steak, and I'm doing a dish in the air fryer later for dinner. This is my double drain board. 1940, it's also 1940s vintage. Got both these pieces in Minnesota on an antique buying trip. So, and then all the stuff I use a lot of vintage utensils. So, anyways, back to what I'm going to make today is going to be homemade heavy cream. Now, I am a Ketovore, so I tried keto and I tried carnivore, and I mixed them because I love my vegetables. So I'm a Ketovore. I am a hunter. Eat a lot of game meat. I do not buy meat, so what I eat is lean and free range. But a true carnivore I could not do because I got to have my veggies. So anyway, so this recipe calls for 2/3 cup of whole milk. I am lactose intolerant, so I don't drink milk. I very rarely put milk on like cereal or something. If I do, I just use either a little bit of heavy cream, or just like my husband uses skim milk, so I might use a little bit of that. I'm not a big cereal eater. I do like oat milk, but I'll put heavy cream in that. I don't make it real milky, if that makes sense. But my neighbor has dairy. This is whole milk from her. I buy it by the quart. And this recipe calls for 2/3 cup of whole milk. So I'm going to pour this in and then let it sit out at room temperature for a little bit, probably an hour. So I'll restart this video in an hour. But I do buy whole milk for cooking with. I'm doing my holiday baking. Next week is Thanksgiving, and today is Wednesday, the week before. So a week from tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So I think it's the 19th. Sound right? Put this part back. But I use a lot of heavy cream. So being Ketovore, I use heavy cream in my coffee. I also can use just butter. I do that occasionally. But I like making things from scratch and not buying a lot. I don't buy prepared food and stuff. So one of the things I've made for many years is my own buttermilk. And I'll do a demonstration on that another day. And then my own heavy cream. I make my own cream of chicken soup. yeah, I have different things that, anyways, and I'll do those recipes. Those would be good, because it's all stuff that most of us have on hand. So, anyways, this recipe only calls for 2 things: 2/3 cup of whole milk and 5 tablespoons of butter. I do have grass-fed butter in there, but I'm actually going to use this. This is actually salted butter from the market, and it's been sitting out for a little bit. I've got a couple more out to make cookies with later. I'm going to mix up my sugar cookie dough that I have a video for, that I will attach at the end. I made it last year, and it's actually a 3-part because I made the dough and it needs to sit overnight. And then I made the cookies. I did all the baking, and then I did a frosting video. But I'll put that first video from last year, this time last year, in a link at the end. And you can make some really good, it's a sugar cookie recipe that's been in my family since I was probably 6 years old. Because I know we moved to this area, and this neighbor lady gave my mom this recipe. The best sugar cookies, got sour cream in it, so they stay very soft. So anyways, I'm going to let this sit out for about an hour, and I'm also going to cut and put 5 tablespoons of butter in here, and I'm going to melt it, because today is a snow day, and I probably need to stop this. I have my fire going, as it's been raining, but it's switching to snow here shortly. So I'm just going to melt my butter on the wood stove while the milk sits out. So it is about 8 o'clock now, 5 minutes till. So about 9, I will start the video back up and we'll make this. So anyways, great recipe. Anything you can make from scratch. You know, I went to, I think it was Walmart grocery, and got this container last week. That's the quart. It was almost $6. And yeah, I bought 4 butter yesterday. Let's say they were $3.99 at Safeway on sale. And the milk. So for a quart of fresh milk from my neighbor, we actually do a trade, so I don't even pay for this, but I think she sells a quart of it for $2 or $3, $2.99, $3. Anybody that wants it, we do a trade, so it doesn't cost me anything. Okay, it has been a little over an hour. It's almost 9:20. And I have my melted butter, 5 tablespoons of it, and my room temperature milk. And it's pretty room temperature. The butter's slightly warmer, so something you can do. I have this little whisk in here just to whisk up the, set that there. You can do a thing they call tempering. So you temper the milk with some of the warm butter by just mixing in about a tablespoon. I mean, you don't want to curdle your milk, but both the butter's been cooled off and the milk's room temperature. I'm just going to set that there for a minute and just incorporate it in. Okay, there's that. Okay, so at this point, I take the incorporated butter, and it's still warm, but I'm going to dump it in here. This is how I do it. I've done it in the pan over stove. But basically right now, we're going to incorporate the milk into the butter. And here's the rest of the milk. So the main thing is just to get it to mix up good. I'm using the glass bowl. Normally I do it in a pan like that, but I wanted you to be able to see it. But you can see it's incorporated in. Okay, 5 tablespoons of real butter and 2/3 cup of whole milk. And this whole milk that I get from my friend, being that she milks her own cows, it's very it's very rich. So you can see it's starting to already just set up. I'm going to let it sit for a minute because I'll be using the mixer. I tend to use my old stuff. I just should have been born 100 years ago, I guess. It's just more fun. But I mean, I have all the potato mashers. I have all the sifters, the garlic press, all that. I collect. That's been my main collection over the years is vintage. I'd say 20s to 50s, but the majority of it being 30s and 40s kitchen gadgets. So this was my grandmother's. Now I have like 3 or 4 of them. This is my favorite one, and it's perfect for making the heavy cream. So I don't want to whip it. If I started beating this fast, I'd end up with homemade whipped cream, that's all you do. Make your own whipped cream. You can put vanilla and sugar in it if you want. I want this for my coffee, because I'm actually going to use what I bought for recipes. And I like this in my coffee. This will go in a jar in the fridge for my coffee. Okay. And I'll show you this. It's a little on the thick side, but that's okay. Let me get a jar. Okay, found the jar. This is the jar I used to keep in my fridge for my coffee. I'm doing this. I'm going to start a coffee. We have a Keurig, so fairly easy. Actually, since it's probably going to be snowing here, it's just a good day to have a fire going, a hot cup of coffee, and some homemade heavy cream. So it has become my it's just a perfect size for this. So this is the heavy cream. Put that in my coffee. So I want to say this 8 ounces there. This is a pint. So I think because it got thicker, it didn't totally fill it. Normally it fills it till about here. But this is my heavy cream. And this is my fresh cup of French roast. And basically, it's going to be about a tablespoon. So it's thick, but the heat will make it. That's why I don't mind it thick, because it disperses in the coffee. And that totally mixed up. My cup of coffee. It is the season. But there's my cup of... I just did a half cup. And you can Have that first sip. It's very good. It's very creamy, very buttery, as you would imagine. But yeah, so this will be my coffee. This lasts me a couple weeks usually. I try to use it up like in a week, 10 days, somewhere in there, and I will. So anyways, well, that is how you make homemade heavy cream. I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee, and I'll see you later. Have a great week leading up to the holiday. I'm going to post that video here at the end of making my sour cream Christmas cookies. So, bon appetit. Enjoy whatever you make. Enjoy your holidays. We're going into the season, so bye for now.